Join our community by subscribing. Every click helps us share more stories like this one. The introduction. In a small, seemingly peaceful town, nestled between rolling hills and dense forests, a quiet unease began to awaken one fateful autumn morning. The scent of damp earth and fallen leaves lingered in the cool air as sunlight pierced through the thick fog enveloping the streets. It was in this serene setting that an unsettling discovery was made, a discovery that would shatter the tranquility of Oakwood and cast a long shadow over its residents. Just after dawn, a pair of hikers came upon an abandoned shed deep within the woods. They had ventured off the beaten path, drawn by the thrill of adventure. But their excitement quickly turned to horror when they stumbled across an unmistakable outline on the ground. A human, lifeless and cold. The figure was tangled amongst the branches and debris, almost as if the forest had attempted to swallow it whole. The hikers' horrified gasps echoed in the stillness as they dialed 911, the weight of their discovery pressing heavily on their chests. Local police arrived swiftly, the rustle of fallen leaves beneath their boots mingling with the distant calls of startled birds. Within minutes, the scene transformed from a quiet woodland to a chaotic hub of activity, with investigators combing through the foliage and carefully preserving evidence. With the first light illuminating the chilling scene, it became painfully clear that this was no accident. The body belonged to Sarah Henderson, a beloved schoolteacher whose absence had been felt intensely in the community over the past 3 days. Now, the people of Oakwood were faced with a grim reality that would unravel not only the life of a cherished educator, but also the dark secrets lurking beneath their idyllic facade. The victim. Sarah Henderson was a vibrant spirit who had touched the lives of countless children in her small-town classroom. Her bright smile and infectious enthusiasm for teaching had earned her the respect and affection of her students and their families alike. Known for organizing engaging activities and her tireless advocacy for arts education, she radiated warmth that extended far beyond her role as an educator. On the surface, Sarah's life appeared idyllic. A modest yet inviting cottage graced the edge of Oakwood, adorned with cheerful flower beds and hand-painted garden ornaments. With her loyal golden retriever, Max, always by her side, she was often seen strolling through the neighborhood or sipping coffee at the corner cafe, where patrons greeted her by name. However, as investigators delved deeper into her life, a different portrait began to form. The darkness concealed beneath her bright exterior flickered into view. Friends mentioned her recent struggles with anxiety, stemming from pressures of work and personal matters. She had been unusually withdrawn in the weeks leading up to her disappearance, missing evening outings with colleagues and declining invitations in favor of solitude. As the news of her death spread through the community, whispers began swirling in hushed tones. Some mentioned an ex-boyfriend, a local artist who had been seen around town, lurking on the fringes of her life and occasionally crossing paths with Sarah figure whose presence had raised eyebrows but was dismissed as harmless. Others spoke of an ongoing disagreement with a fellow teacher over a school project, one that had left Sarah visibly shaken after an intense confrontation. With every passing moment, it became increasingly clear that Sarah was more than just a victim. She was a complex woman whose life had been intertwined with a web of relationships, secrets, and unspoken fears. And beneath the facade of small-town charm lay the unsettling possibility that someone among them held the key to her tragic fate. The crime scene. The sun struggled to break free from thick clouds, casting a pallid light over the woods as investigators meticulously swarmed the area where Sarah Henderson's body had been found. Law enforcement officials cordoned off the site, the familiar yellow tape fluttering gently in the crisp autumn breeze, signaling a stark warning to anyone who dared to intrude. Detective Marcus Green knelt beside the scene, his brow furrowed in concentration as he surveyed the eerily serene surroundings. Nearby, the skeletal branches of the trees loomed overhead, their twisted forms silhouetted against the gray sky. Despite their imposing presence, they felt more like silent witnesses to the horror that had unfolded in their midst. Sarah's body, draped haphazardly among the underbrush, was a haunting tableau. A forensic expert carefully examined the body, noting the multiple bruises visible on her arms and legs, each mark a testament to her struggle. Evidence technicians captured close-up photographs, documenting each detail as they meticulously collected items that could serve as valuable clues. A nearby creek gurgled softly, its calming sounds at odds with the grim scene. Detective Green's gaze was drawn to a distinctive pattern etched in the dirt, a shallow footprint, partially obscured beneath fallen leaves. The size and depth of the print suggested the presence of a man, though it was impossible to ascertain whether it belonged to the perpetrator or a passerby. While the police team worked diligently, local search and rescue dogs scoured the surrounding area, their sharp noses seeking any lingering scent that might connect the dots. The air was heavy with tension as the horrifying realization dawned upon the detectives. The typically close-knit community of Oakwood had been forever altered. As they processed the scene, Detective Green felt an unsettling churn in his stomach. With every piece of evidence collected, he encountered a deeper mystery that reached far beyond Sarah's untimely death. The shadows of the past began to emerge, hinting at buried secrets that could unravel the very fabric of the town itself. Time was of the essence, for every moment lost could erase crucial traces, leaving unanswered questions to haunt the community long after the investigation had begun. The early investigation. In the days following the grim discovery of Sarah Henderson's body, the atmosphere in Oakwood shifted dramatically. A pall of uncertainty gripped the town as whispers of speculation rippled through homes and businesses. Detective Marcus Green, assigned the case, faced a daunting task. He knew that every minute counted, and that establishing a timeline of Sarah's final days was crucial to unraveling the mystery surrounding her death. Early on, Green and his partner, Detective Lisa Patel, convened at the bustling Oakwood Police Department, the tension palpable in the air. They understood that the community was watching closely, yearning for answers while grappling with a shared fear. A series of interviews were planned each. One, a potential key that could unlock the truth. Their first stop was the charming local cafe, known for its freshly brewed coffee and the camaraderie shared among patrons. As they spoke with Sarah's colleagues and friends, stories of her passion for teaching and her dedication to students emerged, but so did hints of strain in her life. Jennifer Malone, a fellow teacher, mentioned her recent confrontation with Sarah over a joint project. "Things got heated," Jennifer recalled, her voice trembling slightly. "But I thought we'd moved past it. There was nothing personal in it, not like that. Detective Green took note, considering how even mundane disagreements could escalate into looming shadows when fueled by deeper issues. He pressed for details about Sarah's ex-boyfriend, Jason. The mere mention of his name made Jennifer's demeanor shift. A flicker of discomfort clouded her eyes. He's had his troubles, she hesitated. He wasn't a bad guy, but the last time I saw Sarah, she told me he'd been calling her acting strange. As they wrapped up the interview, Detective Patel leaned in closer, her intuition whispering that there was more to explore. Every conversation unearthed layers of Sarah's life that burdened her with vulnerabilities, each thread spinning toward a potential motive for someone wanting to silence her. With each grasp at the truth, the detectives steeled themselves for the difficult days ahead, acutely aware that they were walking on thin ice. The community awaited resolution, but the path to understanding the breadth of Sarah's life and, ultimately, her death remained shrouded in uncertainty. Time was fleeting, and hidden beneath their small-town facade were secrets waiting to surface. The dead ends. As the investigation unfolded, Detective Marcus Green began to realize that the complexity of Sarah Henderson's life had created a labyrinthine web of leads, each one tangling further into a dark and elusive narrative. With initial interviews completed, he and Detective Lisa Patel rushed to sift through the information. Yet with each clue, new questions emerged, only to lead to more dead ends. The search for Sarah's ex-boyfriend, Jason, proved more difficult than anticipated. He had become a ghost, having moved away shortly after their breakup. The detectives tracked down his new address, but each attempt to reach him was met with silence. Friends and family described him as a troubled artist who struggled with addiction, a turbulent background that painted a vivid picture but offered little in terms of actionable evidence. Meanwhile, the investigation took a staggering turn when they discovered that calls had been made from Sarah's phone to an unknown number in the days leading up to her disappearance. Tracing the number eventually brought them to a local bar, known for its late-night crowd and secretive patrons. However, interviews with the bar's regulars provided little insight, as no one remembered seeing Sarah that night. The smoky haze of lost memories left the detectives frustrated. Each late-night meeting to discuss progress revealed the mounting pressure, not only from the community, but also from Sarah's family. Her brother, Michael, demanded updates, his grief transforming into a consuming desperation. "You need to find out who did this," he pressed, the weight of losing his sister evident in his eyes. With each passing day, the hope of unraveling the truth began to wane. Dead ends seemed to multiply like shadows in the dim light, throwing doubt over their ability to connect the dots. The detectives faced a harsh reality. The more they delved into Sarah's life, the more the heart of the investigation throbbed with uncertainty. Yet, amidst the discouragement, the conversation with a local shop owner provided a fragile glimmer of hope. The owner mentioned having seen Sarah talking with a stranger a few days before her disappearance, a man, described vaguely but distinct enough to remember. The detective's heart quickened. It was a lead, albeit tenuous. As the day came to an end, Green couldn't shake the feeling that the key to understanding was still out there, hidden somewhere in the folds of Oakwood, waiting to break free from the shadow. A break in the case. It was a crisp Wednesday morning when the break in Sarah Henderson's case finally set the wheels of justice into motion. Detective Marcus Green stood in the fading sunlight pouring into the Oakwood police station, an air of anticipation humming through the room. A tip had come in overnight, a hazy recollection from a passing motorist who had witnessed something peculiar the night Sarah vanished. The motorist, an elderly man named Harold Jenkins, had been driving home from visiting family when he noticed a couple arguing on the side of the road just outside of town. He hadn't thought much of it at the time, but when news of Sarah's death emerged, the memory of their confrontation returned like a nagging itch. Green's heart quickened as Harold recounted the detail. They were shouting at each other, the elderly man recalled, leaning heavily on his cane. One of them was a woman, and I'm almost certain I've seen her around town. The man was tall with dark hair, and he looked he looked angry. Detective Green immediately jotted down the man's physical description, fueled by the urgency of the moment. Although the sighting was vague, it offered a fresh lead that could get them closer to the truth. With newfound energy, Green and Patel set out to canvass the area, hoping to connect the man described by Harold to their growing list of potential suspects. Days turned into a blur as the detectives explored the timeline surrounding Sarah's disappearance with renewed vigor. They reviewed surveillance footage from gas stations and convenience stores along the route where Harold had seen the argument. As they examined grainy images from one location, a figure emerged, a tall man matching the description, seemingly in a heated discussion with Sarah. As the grainy footage played on loop, Green squinted, trying to discern any familiar feature. There was something disquieting about the encounter, the tension palpable even through the pixels. It was clear that he had to be proactive before the trail went cold. After consulting with colleagues and gathering a team, they prepared to track down the man in the footage, launching an immediate search. The realization that they might be inches away from a suspect ignited the team's spirit. For the first time since unraveling the mystery of Sarah's tragic fate, it felt as if the pieces were starting to come together. The shadows that once loomed large began to recede slightly, offering a hint of clarity where stone walls had stood firm before. A tone of hope permeated the investigation, yet uncertainty lingered like a whisper. What would they find when they finally confronted the man from the video? The suspect. The atmosphere in the Oakwood Police Department buzzed with purpose as Detective Marcus Green and Detective Lisa Patel prepared to confront the man captured in the surveillance footage. After hours combing through digital leads, they had finally identified him as Trevor Malone, brother of Jennifer Malone, Sarah's colleague and recent interviewee. The detectives approached Trevor's home, a modest two-story house tucked away on a quiet street. Despite the serene surroundings, a palpable tension hung in the air. Green took a breath and rang the doorbell, the sound echoing unnervingly in the stillness. A moment later, the door creaked open, revealing Trevor, a tall man in his mid-30s, his unruly dark hair and deeply set eyes projecting an air of agitation. "Can I help you?" Trevor asked, his voice a blend of confusion and wariness. "Detectives Green and Patel, Oakwood PD," Green replied, showing his badge. "We need to ask you a few questions about Sarah Henderson." At the mention of Sarah's name, Trevor's expression shifted, his brow furrowed, and a flicker of something indiscernible crossed his features. They stepped inside, the air thick with anticipation as they settled into the living room. Green wasted no time, replaying the grainy footage in his mind. "Where were you on the night of her disappearance?" Green asked, his tone straightforward yet probing. "I was home," With Jen, Trevor replied, his voice lacking conviction. You can ask her. Patel observed closely, noting the tension in his posture and the way he avoided eye contact. We have witnesses who saw you arguing with Sarah that evening, Trevor, she continued. What were you two discussing? Trevor shifted uncomfortably, swallowing hard. Look, it was just a misunderstanding. I wanted her to leave my sister alone. Jen was upset about something, and I thought Sarah was getting too close. But you created a scene, and it was reported loudly enough for a passing motorist to notice. Green pressed on, his instincts flaring. What were you afraid of? The suspect's facade began to crack, the heat of the room pressing against him. I didn't mean I just wanted to protect my sister. She's vulnerable. As the conversation deepened, Trevor's demeanor shifted more profoundly. His anger morphed into a defensive posture, the words spilling out in a frantic rush as he floundered to justify his actions. Look, I didn't hurt her. I didn't. We fought, and she left. All right? I didn't see her after that. Detective Green scrutinized his face, searching for that elusive glimmer of truth. The rawness in Trevor's voice flickered between authenticity and deception. Each answer brought them closer, but remained frustratingly out of reach. As the tense dialogue unfolded, Green sensed that whatever Trevor harbored had only started to reveal itself, and they were now standing on the precipice of a deeper understanding if only they could seize the truth before it slipped away. The trial. The air in the Oakwood courtroom was thick with anticipation as the trial against Trevor Malone commenced. Rows of spectators packed the benches, the community eager for closure, yet burdened by the weight of the past few months. Detective Marcus Green sat in the front row, his gaze fixated on the defendant Trevor, who appeared markedly different than the defensive man he had interrogated just weeks earlier. Clad in a crisp suit, Trevor's youthful demeanor now bore a pallor, marred by a mixture of anxiety and defiance. The trial was not merely about vindication for Sarah Henderson's tragic fate. It was a crucible for the entire town, a reminder that darkness can creep into even the most idyllic settings. As the proceedings began, the judge's gavel rang in crisp succession. The prosecution laid out its case methodically, presenting evidence from surveillance footage and eyewitness testimonies describing the heated argument that unfolded the night Sarah disappeared. Witness after witness took the stand, recounting their observation showed the tension seemed to radiate off Trevor, how Sarah appeared fearful but resolute in leaving the confrontation. Yet it was the forensic testimony that translated the emotional into the tangible. The coroner explained the details of Sarah's injuries, the trauma she suffered, effectively aligning jury members with the horror of her last moment. It incited gasps among the spectators, evoking a wave of collective grief. Defense attorney Mary Patterson countered with fervor, attempting to carve doubt into the prosecution's narrative. She painted Trevor as a misguided brother, protective in his intentions towards his sister. This is about misunderstanding, no motive. Only frustration, she argued. Striving to humanize Trevor, attempting to distance him from any notion of premeditated violence. As the trial unfolded over several intense days, the relentless push and pull between the two sides created a palpable tension. The jury filed in after deliberation, carrying the heavy responsibility of deciding truth from fabrication, justice from the fragility of imperfect lives. When the foreman rose to deliver the verdict, the tension in the courtroom reached a crescendo. We, the jury, find the defendant, Trevor Malone, guilty of involuntary manslaughter. A collective breath was released. The townsfolk's emotions swayed from despair to relief. But distrust still lingered in the corners of their hearts, bound to the unresolved pain from Sarah's senseless death. As Trevor was led away, the courtroom buzzed with hushed conversations. For Detective Green, this was not merely a case resolved. It was a reminder of the shadows that continue to linger within the seams of their community. The path to healing lay ahead, but the memory of Sarah and the complexity of her life would remain firmly etched in the fabric of Oakwood, where her absence would forever be felt like an echo on the autumn breeze. The aftermath. In the days following the trial, Oakwood began the slow process of healing. Though the scars left by Sarah Henderson's tragic fate were still raw, the crisp autumn air, once associated with the promise of new beginnings, now carried an enduring sense of loss. The community gathered to mourn, but their sorrow gradually shifted towards resilience, an effort to reclaim the essence of the town they had once cherished. At Oakwood Elementary, students returned to school, their laughter attempting to drown out the silence that lingered in the halls where Sarah used to teach. Her classroom, once alive with the vibrant energy of creativity, now felt like a shrine. The school's administration had established a scholarship in her name to honor her passion for education. And during this somber ceremony, classmates and teachers shared stories of Sarah's kindness, her dedication, and her infectious smile. Detective Marcus Green, having spent countless hours involved in the case, attended the memorial. As he looked around at the faces of children who would never be taught by Sarah again, he felt a pang of responsibility. He understood that justice had been served, but a nagging sense of inadequacy loomed within him. There was no verdict that could fill the void left by her absence. The aftermath also cast a shadow over the Malone family. Trevor's conviction had rippled across the community, and he became a marked figure, a blend of guilt, anger, and fear swirled around his name. While Jennifer tried to support her brother in his darkest hour, the whispers and stares from their neighbors continued. The bonds of family and friendship fractured under the pressure of tragedy, leaving both siblings to grapple with the ruins of their past. Weeks turned into months, but the emotion was slow to dissipate. Detective Green, reflecting on the gravity of the case, found himself haunted by thoughts of what could have been. He laid the groundwork for a community initiative aimed at addressing mental health and support systems, striving to prevent tragedies like Sarah's from darkening their doorsteps again. Yet, even as the community worked to reclaim a sense of normalcy, the specter of Sarah lingered. Her story became a beacon, a reminder of the importance of compassion, vigilance, and understanding amid turmoil. Even in death, she united Oakwood, forging a pathway towards resilience and an unwavering commitment to safeguard the vulnerable. As the autumn leaves fell, one thing became painfully clear. Time would carry the town forward, but Sarah's legacy would remain woven into the heartbeats of Oakwood, where her spirit continued to inspire hope against the backdrop of sorrow. Reflection. As the leaves danced to the ground and winter approached Oakwood, Detective Marcus Green found himself drawn to the quiet solace of the woods, where Sarah Henderson's life was cut short. The once vibrant greens had faded, replaced by the starkness of bare trees and the hushed whispers of the forest. In this moment of reflection, he thought about the complex tapestry of Sarah's life, the choices she made, the challenges she faced, and the ripple effect her death had on a community searching for answers. Sitting on a weathered log where investigators had once gathered to process the scene, Green grappled with his role in the investigation. He felt both a sense of closure and a profound sadness. Justice had prevailed, but it did little to erase the grief that enveloped those who knew her. He remembered the laughter of children in her classroom, the warmth she spread to everyone around her, and how such light could be extinguished so quickly. In the weeks that followed, media attention waned, but the conversations around mental health and community support grew louder. Green had joined forces with local leaders, educators, and parents, passionately advocating for programs designed to empower and uplift those struggling in silence. Through these initiatives, he sought not only to honor Sarah's memory, but also to ensure that her story brought about meaningful change. As the snow began to blanket Oakwood, Green understood that healing would take time. He gazed at the pristine landscape, its beauty unmarred by the weight of sorrow. In this stillness, he found a renewed commitment to safeguarding the fragile threads of life, knowing that every soul deserves to be seen and heard. Sarah's legacy had transformed the town, pushing it towards empathy and solidarity. Ultimately, she was more than a victim. She was a catalyst for a movement that united the community, ensuring that her light shone on even in the darkest of times.